I think we are recording. So, I just want to get that set up and out of the way.
Okay.
And then talk to you a little bit about kind of the roadmap of what we'll do in the next hour or so.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, but I have technological challenges. I have to get the equipment back to the next team. So it'll be an hour, and I'll try to respect that, your time, and
Well,
As
I've
well?
got all the time in the world. I'm
Okay.
not going anyplace. I don't have anybody to see.
well,
This is a real joy for me that I do have somebody to talk to.
we're gonna kind of pick your brain and pick your
Wow,
understand
you got
what's going on.
problems
We'll be good. So take about an hour, and we'll talk to you about kind of things that are individual to you. You know, how long you've been here in Thurston Woods and things like that. And then we'll talk a little bit about the community for about half the time as well.
Okay.
And it may not look like individual and community. It may all get mixed together, and that'll be fine. But
Well, I've learned a lot over the years that I've been here.
yeah, how many years is that?
A total now of probably about 26, 27, maybe even 28.
Okay, 28. So 1984 you moved in? Thereabouts? Is that 28? She says not being
No,
able to
it's
remember.
not that long. Can't be that long because it would have been 94.
Okay, 94. So still almost 20 years, right? 14. Yeah, almost 20 years.
Okay. Sorry about that. Didn't miss the.
No. I mean, that's why
mislead
that's
you.
why I asked the questions. And the other thing that I should ask first off, we'll do the easy questions. Can you tell me your name for the recorder?
You want it formal?
Just as you would wish to be
Well,
referred to.
Jim Olson.
Okay.
O-L-S-O-N.
And your
And
address?
most people call me Big Jim.
Big Jim?
I don't know why. But
And your address is 6128?
North 39.
Okay, good. We like to have that so that when we transcribe these, or when we're learning how not to transcribe them, but we'll have all your information in your voice as well.
Okay.
So you've lived here, as you were saying, for almost 20 years.
No, I've lived in a neighborhood for 20 years.
Okay.
I've lived here for, I'd say about 12,
Okay. Where did you live first in the neighborhood?
next door.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I would have been homeless, and those people were friends of mine, and they took me in for a short time until I could get back on my feet.
Mm-hmm.
And it was same house, 2-bedroom, very small quarters, and got kind of tense for a while. Let's put it that way. Was really fortunate that this place became available.
Mm-hmm.
And I rented here for, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 years with an option to buy, and then I was able to buy it.
Oh, good.
The city of Milwaukee provided a number of.
That's my car.
Is it?
Do you want to go out and check?
Better check in this neighborhood.
Yeah. But continue with the interview.
All right.
I'll just be a little
Come on
bit
back
of
in.
noise leaving and coming back in.
Okay.
It's off now, but
It's worth a
people
check.
across the street are looking out their drapes to see what's going on. Let's hope nobody's been fiddling with it.
Who knows?
Oh, dear.
Yeah, oh dear is right.
So, well, I mean, you made a comment about in this neighborhood. Tell me a little bit about this neighborhood
Well-
now.
This particular block is great, but there are some adjacent blocks that aren't so great. If you drive up 39th here toward Florist, after you cross Call, which is the next intersection here, the neighborhood changes is almost as if you had gone 50 or 60 blocks instead of only one. On the other side, there's vacant homes. Some have been rehabbed by the city and been rented out. And unfortunately, renters don't take as much pride in a home as, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Renters don't take as much pride in this home as a owner would. Uh, people that rent apartments is a little different than when they rent a private home. And there are a few renters in the neighborhood. There's one right directly across the alley and one next door that are great. Then you take the one on that side in that duplex there. All they do is sit in their garage and talk all afternoon.
Okay.
And they can't do it in the house, so they do it out in the garage. And I've observed deliveries. I've made it known to the police department, and they keep checking. But every time they take a look, these guys seem to know, and everything is all above board. So anyway,
Has it been, how long is it, you made the comment about the renters, and has it been like that for the whole time that you've been here, or is it really?
well, not all the houses. There's homeowners directly across the street, next door, and it's a mixture of white and black and even Hispanic on the others. And the ones that own the home, we all get together, take care of the neighborhood as best we can, and everybody works together. We're all part of the Block Watch, and it seems like the renters are the ones that make most of the trouble. And I won't point any fingers or anything like that. Because there are a few renters in the neighborhood that do take care of their place. So the guy directly across the alley is so great. He's a mechanic. I used to be a mechanic for 40 years before I became disabled. And boy, we talk all the time about mechanic stuff that just gets me right back into thinking about things like that. I kind of miss it. In '93, when I had my problem and I wound up becoming disabled, I had a stroke. Lost my short-term memory, and you need that to be able to put cars back together. And it's a funny thing. They don't want to take the car home in a bushel basket. They have no sense of humor about that at all.
So did you work in this neighborhood, or where did you
No,
work before?
actually, I worked in West Dallas
Okay, so I'm not from
and
Milwaukee.
Wauwatosa.
How far away is that?
Halfway to the south side.
Okay.
Where I worked in Wauwatosa was a mobile station that used to be on the corner of 76th and Blue Mound Road, if you
Okay.
know where that is.
Nope, but I'm going to look it up on a map.
Okay. Well, you know where the zoo is?
Yes, I've been to the zoo.
About 12, 14 blocks east of that.
Okay.
The zoo is on Blue Mound and I-40, I-894. And when you come east, 84th is the next big intersection, and then 76th. That's not there anymore. They tore the mobile station down, and it turned into a credit union.
Okay.
But I spent an awful lot of years on that corner.
Yeah.
Fruit Ranch was right across the
Yeah.
street. And Gillies Frozen Custard, that's where most of this came from.
So did you work there while you lived in this neighborhood?
No,
Okay.
I haven't worked at all since I've been in this
Okay.
neighborhood.
So this was after you moved here, after you had.
I
stroke?
had a little heart problem called ventricular tachycardia, and I was dead for about 4 minutes. And the blood clots got into the everywhere, but in a couple places where it shouldn't have gotten. And I lost my short-term memory, and I couldn't work anymore. I tried, and I worked on things like fuel injection and transmissions and all of that real technical stuff. And I could do a transmission overhaul in less than a day, sometimes in only a few hours. And it was taking me 2 to 3 days to get it back together properly. I'd get everything back in the transmission and go to put it back in the car, and I'd look on the bench and there'd be 1 or 2 little parts. And there are places where you can leave things out on the car and it ain't gonna matter. Little screws here, little bolts there, but everything inside a transmission is needed. And usually what got left out was like a thrust bearing or something like that. And that's the cushion, because when you change gears, everything's banging like this. And you need that bearing in there to keep it from wearing out and going bad. And probably one of the most important things that I like. But it's only that big around and about that thick, so it's easy to overlook on a bench. And,
Is that the kind of thing you talk about with your neighbor across the alley, or?
well, that and he's into hot rodding. And he is an unusual hot rodder.
So.
He uses Cadillac engines. The biggest cubic inch motor in the world. For gasoline engines, that is. You've heard of 427s and 454s and 455s, like the Oldsmobiles and the Chevys and stuff like that. Well, Cadillac's is a 565.
Oh, really?
And when you got an American iron, heavy vehicles and all of that, there's no substitute for cubic inches and a lot of horsepower.
So you've got a mechanic back across the alley. And what do you know what your other neighbors do, or how close?
Retired next door, except that Ray picked up a job working for 211 and Impact.
Okay.
He works down on is it 6th and Florist, where the main Independence First place is.
Okay.
And other than that, he's been unemployed for a couple of years. He's a little younger than I am. I'm 66. That would make him about 62 or 63. So he had to retire early because the unemployment ran out. And now what he's got at 211 at Impact is just a few hours a day to help supplement. They're retired directly across the street. They're quite a bit older than I am. These people here, the woman that owns it is retired. She's elderly.
At 6125, or the one farther?
This one right straight.
Okay,
I can't see.
6125.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. It's in big letters. I should be able to see
It's all right. Your vision may be black from there.
Not quite, but
Okay.
now I can see it. Anyway, but she's got several adult children living with her that I think do work occasionally.
So when you came to Thurston Woods, you came because you knew the folks next door, or was there some other reason why you came here?
I was living with a friend in an upstairs apartment, in an attic apartment, and he was going to throw me out. And I met these people, and I don't even remember what the occasion was, but we got to talking about what's going on, and they were kind enough to say, we'll take you in. Everything that I had went into storage or up in the attic of their garage. And I just had a few clothes on my back that I dealt with. And I was there for about 1.5 years. And this house had been boarded up and closed up for about 6 years. An elderly lady owned it. Her name was Jewel. And she died. And her son Tony, who is a teenager at the age of about 26 or 27 years old, inherited the place free and clear because the insurance took care of it.
Mhm.
So he had all kinds of big ideas, and he went out and he got a second mortgage or a first mortgage on the place or something. Somehow he used it as collateral for a big loan. And he bought a car, and he bought this humongous stereo equipment. She said that used to rattle them out of their bed at
Oh,
night.
really?
It was so bad.
Your neighbors.
Yeah. And, well, they apparently they had the stereo set up in that back bedroom,
Okay.
which is right that far from their fence. Sound travels easy, especially at night.
Yeah.
So he was not welcome at all, and I don't know what happened. I don't think he was working, and he couldn't make payments on the house. Excuse me. And instead of turning around and selling it to get out from under that, and maybe get some equity out of it or something like that, between Christmas and New Year's one year, he just you all showed up, and he just packed all his stuff up and left. And it sat vacant for about 6 years. So now when my landlord came in here, I was living there, and I saw them coming in and out. I went and asked him what's going to happen with it, because I was thinking about getting it for myself as it was.
Mhm.
And he says, well, I kind of buy and rent out for sale. And I said, well, that sounds like something right up my alley. Can we talk about it? As it turned out, that the way things were in this place, it had froze up. The guy left between Christmas and New Year's. He was behind on energies, so both the gas and electric got turned off almost immediately after he left.
Mhm.
They must have sent him notices that he had a disconnect notice anyway. It must have been a little earlier than that, though. They said it was between Christmas and New Year's. But there's a moratorium on it. They can't shut things off.
Yeah.
But anyway, they shut it off
And the
before the
pipes
cold weather. And then the city of Milwaukee didn't come around and shut the water off for another whole year.
So when you moved in, had your landlord done work, or did you end up doing work? And have you done work on your house since then?
Oh yeah, I've done as much as I can.
Yeah.
I did a lot, and then my problems get more and more every day,
Yeah.
and I can't do. The landlord did a lot to this place. These all were like Wausau homes. They're built in a factory, brought up here in a truck,
Mm-hmm.
and put on slab.
Mm-hmm.
This is concrete slab. Not,
Okay.
There's no basement under any of these. Except, I lied. There's one exactly like this, 2 doors down on the other side of this duplex right here. That's got a basement.
Okay.
Why that one's got a basement and all the others don't, I don't know. All the houses on this side that look like this are basically this layout. They might be turned a little bit or whatever, but they're all 2-bedroom, 1 bath, living room, kitchen, and a utility room right on the other side of this wall. In fact, if you look back there on the wall, that's where the oil-fired space heater came through the wall. This thing had some old monstrosity, cast iron thing that looked like something out of the Dark Ages coming through the wall, and that's what heated this whole house. So when my landlord came in, all the pipes had frozen up and busted. The bathroom fixtures were all gone except for the bathtub, and that was gone anyway because what they had done in it. Apparently they knew that they were leaving, and used it as a toilet, for lack of better thing to call it. And so the landlord came in and he had a plumber put it all new plumbing in. So everything is brand new in here, right down to where the meter comes in. And then he pulled that monstrosity out of there and put in a forced air furnace and had ductwork put in, and so it's like a regular old house now.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to have somebody come in and update the electrical because there were 2 grants that I got, and I'm not sure just how I got them anymore. But I dealt with a place called Housing Resources, if you've ever heard of them. Good place to deal with. I had to go through a program on home ownership. It was 6 weeks long course, and that was one of the requirements to qualify for those grants. One was through the city, and the other one was through Housing Resources on some federal deal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that the city one came down from the federal too. It's just so it all probably came from the same coffers. But I was able to get a little over $20,000 in grants to get in here, which meant that I had no down payment and no closing costs.
Good.
They pulled that furnace out. I patched the wall. I haven't gotten around, after all these years, I haven't gotten around to repainting that one spot. But there always seems to be something else that needs attention, and I just got, a friend of mine bought me that television set because I couldn't afford anything like that, and I was using a little old 25-inch job that was a picture tube.
Mm-hmm.
And from across the room, I couldn't see it anymore. So he took pity on me. And I've got direct TV. So I had the entertainment center on this wall. So that's why this all is in disarray yet. I couldn't really watch TV properly from this angle. I wanted to be able to look that way.
Mm-hmm. But you're set up here so you can kind of look out. It's nice you have the way you have it too, because you can see what's going on the street. And how much do you watch kind of what's going on outside versus television, do you think?
Well, I lay here during the day because
Mhm.
I'm supposed to keep my legs up. I got very, very bad circulation in my legs, and
Mhm.
I get wounds very easy if I don't take care of. So I'm supposed to keep my legs up. So and I watch out. But in front here isn't where the stuff happens. The stuff happens back there. People don't roam up and down the sidewalks. They roam up and down the alleys. And there's been problems that I have happened, and I didn't even know they happened until after the fact. I don't know why, but somebody threw cans good, not empty cans, but full cans, at their garage doors next door. And they had hollow core doors, and it just put big holes in them. And,
Sure.
having been in the automotive business, I knew about Bondo and stuff like that. So we tried to patch it. And because it's wood, and wood expands and contracts differently than metal does, and it doesn't bond like metal, the patches fell out during the first winter, so that was a lost cause. So now they've got new garage doors, and hopefully nobody will fiddle with them. But they're steel now.
Ah, okay. Well, that solves the canned good through the wood problem.
They could still get dented and scratched up, but at least it's not going to get holes in it anymore.
So your comment about canned goods, it's gonna make me shift direction a little bit, but food. Where do you go? who do you do your own cooking here, or does
Yes.
someone? Okay, and your kitchen is
It's right
back
there.
there.
And don't look too close because it's a mess.
Well, you said you were in a little bit of an upheaval with things moving around, but where do you go shopping for food, or where does your food come from?
Mostly I go shopping at Pick and Save on Port Road and Green Tree, which is that way about 20 blocks or so.
Okay,
And I go when they go shopping.
you go with them.
Yes.
Oh, that's
They're
nice.
Kind enough to take me along.
Is there anywhere in Thurston Woods that people shop for food, or that you shop for food?
There is 2 grocery stores. There's one over on Villard, just east of 35th Street. So I don't know if that could still be considered Thurston Woods, that close or not.
Yeah.
Probably just over the border in another neighborhood, and I don't know what that one would be called.
Mhm.
Because they don't take pride in their neighborhood like we do, and we've got those little signs hanging on
Yeah.
lampposts up
Yeah.
and down Sherman Boulevard or whatever. I even have a Thurston Woods flag and an American flag that they gave me,
Yeah.
but I took them down for washing, and I haven't gotten to it yet.
Tell me a little bit about the pride that you take in Thurston Woods. You know, what makes Thurston Woods kind of worth your heart and effort?
Well, I didn't even know it was here until I moved into the neighborhood. A friend of mine used to live just on the other side of Florist on 42nd Street. So I was familiar with the neighborhood for many years. When he first got married, that was where his wife grew up. And they bought the house on a land contract from her mother.
Mm-hmm.
So it gave them a good start financially, because they paid payments with no interest. All they paid off was the principal. The neighborhood never seemed bad to me like a lot of other neighborhoods do. There's been some problems. A guy killed his wife right over here on 35th and Call a couple of years ago. There was a stabbing in that house about 8 years ago before these people moved in. So there's been a number of incidents in the area. But you're going to get them anywhere. I find that I actually grew up in Bayview,
Mm-hmm.
2 blocks from South Shore Park. And in 4th grade, we moved out to just about a block away from Mitchell Field.
Okay.
So from Bayview to Tono Lake. And that's what it was when we first moved out there. The city hadn't absorbed it yet. That was First and Van Norman, a block north of Layton and a block west of Howell Avenue. So for I don't know how many umpteen years, at least 10, maybe 12, all the airplanes that took off and landed in the airport came right over our house.
Mm-hmm.
Because they only had that one diagonal runway in the airport. Then they made the east-west runway and lengthened it out over Howell Avenue, and they got that tunnel now.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put in the north-south runway, and that wasn't really for the airport as much as it was for the that refueling squadron that's there. Because those 707s, when they're loaded with fuel, takes a lot for them to get up. So that's probably one of the longest runways in the Midwest. And I wish I could tell you things about being a kid in this neighborhood, because if you were interested in the area around the airport, I used to bicycle down to the airport.
From here, or from where you
from
your
where
house
I
where you
live.
grew up?
Me and a bunch of my friends would go down there all summer long, 2-3 times a week. Drop our bicycles right in front of the main entrance. I don't know if I could even find that main entrance anymore because the thing has expanded so much. And we'd walk in, walk up a flight of stairs. When you go up the main flight of stairs, on this side is all of the bathrooms and stuff like that, and the shoe shine stands and whatever. And on this side there was an arcade. And this is before video games. We were playing pinball and those little shooting games and bowling where you had that hockey puck that you threw down the alley.
So it
She
sounds,
probably won't even remember stuff like that. You're too young for that.
yeah, I'm only 32.
You're a kid.
You're a kid.
So you, it sounds like you kind of had, you could roam when you were growing up. You know, you could take your bike down to Mitchell Field and you could hang with your buddies. Do you see kids in this neighborhood doing
Yes.
that? You
Yes.
do? Okay.
At the end of the block here, on what would be the southwest corner, there used to be a grade school there. And there was that area in the back, that playground. When they tore the school down, they didn't do away with the playground. So there's still basketball courts there. And you see a lot of kids bicycling up and playing basketball and they're in there. You had asked about grocery stores. Here's one right here in this shopping center on Tetonia. It's called the Silver Mill.
Do you go there?
No,
Why?
I don't know. Nobody else does. And
That's
I
as
can't,
good a reason as any.
I can't get there by myself.
Right. So you go where your neighbors are going.
Or if I need to go someplace else
Mhm.
and they're not going there, every once in a while I like to go out to Woodman's Way out on 124th
Yeah. Okay.
and Bradley. They've got things there that you can't get anywhere else, and they've got great prices. I deal with an outfit called Interfaith, and they provide drivers for me. They are the ones that take me to my doctor appointments and whatever. I had a doctor appointment last week that I got ferried to by them. I have a blood test coming up this week, Friday, that somebody will pick me up and take me there. And then I need to stop at Walgreens for some bandages and stuff for my legs. And he'll stop there with me and take me into the store and make sure that I get what I need.
Okay. So is that a city service or a state service?
No,
or
it's actually
neighborhood?
federally funded, but it's all part of that Independent First
okay.
deal
Mhm.
that I was telling you about. All the senior centers in all of the county parks, including right over here at McGovern, are run by Interfaith. So all of the senior centers are taken care of by them. They provide snow shoveling in the winter, and they provide grass cutting in the summer to those who really need it.
So do you take advantage of that as well, or
I don't need it.
you don't need it? Okay, you do it, or do your neighbors do it?
My neighbor cuts both the grass, and I can get around enough to take the edger along after him
Good.
and clean up what he can't get with the lawnmower. So we kind of work together on that, and it works out pretty good. And a couple of years ago, I bought a snowblower, a real good one. We keep it in his garage, and he uses it on both our walks when necessary. He don't bother with the snowblower if it's only an inch or so. He can get it done faster without dragging that monstrosity out. But what he likes it for is he can clean up the alley real nice, because it's a big snowblower. I have a brother-in-law who's in the lawn and landscape business, and he inherited it from one of his new clients. The client had been doing lawn and landscaping and snow shoveling and stuff like that in-house.
Mm-hmm.
And when Roger took over, the guy says, "Hey, you ain't got any use for that snowblower?" And Roger says, "Yeah." And he grabbed it and brought it over to me, and I got a free lawnmower or snowblower out of it.
That sounds like a good deal.
And then about a year later, the engine blew up, and I found an identical unit at the hardware store up here on Titonia, Sterling Hardware. And that's another funny story because they're owned by the same people that own the hardware store on the south side that I went to all the years that I was living down there.
Oh, really?
Tippecanoe Hardware on Howell Avenue, about a block south of Howard. And that's the same company. They're both True Value stores, and they're both run by the same people. So I was a real surprise when I walked in there and they say, "I know you.
Sure.
What are you doing up here?" So we have both of them, and I work back and forth between. He's like the manager to both of them. So anyway, I bought the snowblower for $100 from them. The engine was good, but the auger was out of it. I had one with a good auger and a bad engine, and they were identical units. And Ray's son is a mechanic, so I can't be trusted to take things apart and get them back together anymore. I know that much. So we gave the units to him, and he took them apart and made one good unit out of it. And the balance we took to the scrapyard and got money for.
Perfect. Perfect.
And now he uses that for both of our, whenever we get anything big, and boy, it's nice to have that done.
Yeah. It sounds like you've got a kind of a good, I don't know, a supporting collection of neighbors here that, at least the owners that you talked about.
I think I could rely on a couple of the other neighbors if I needed it.
Uh-huh.
But Ray and Linda are my best
Your
friends. So.
As well. Yeah.
And now, the house on the other side of them, that's that guy's ex-wife. So they all kind of stayed in the neighborhood here. He's remarried, and they all get along real good. They go places together. And how often do you see an ex-wife and the new wife go out to eat with the husband?
Oh, about never.
But they do it.
Huh.
Anyway, they have a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And the daughter and the son-in-law live down near Alverno College. And they've got a baby that's in a real bad way. I'm not sure just what the baby has, but they need her to kind of babysit. Otherwise, one of them is going to have to quit working. And near Alverno College, that's a high-rent district, so they need their money. So Judy is moving down there, and Ray and Linda's daughter is buying that place.
Okay.
So it's still going to be a lot of family.
I was going to say, it stays all in the family. Talking about family and things like that, I have kind of two questions for you. Is your family nearby?
I don't have much family
Okay.
anymore. Parents have been deceased for a long time. My
Mm-hmm.
mother went in '73, and my dad in 1980.
Mm-hmm.
They were not typical parents. They were in their late 30s when I came along.
Hmm.
Actually, my mother was my dad's second wife. So I've got two older brothers from the first marriage. Half brothers, but as far as I'm concerned, they're brothers.
Mm-hmm.
One lives up in West Bend, and the other one lives in Atona Raymond on 7 Mile Road, just east of Highway 45. My sister, she's 4 years my junior. She and her husband, who does the lawn and landscaping, they live out in Muskego.
Okay.
So I don't have anything close by. Nobody that I can rely on for any real help. Don't spill your water, dum dum.
Well, I was going to say, if you need some water, take a minute.
I
'cause
got lots of it here. I just don't wanna douse myself. Come on. No, I don't know. That ain't closed. I'll
The-
worry about that later.
The other thing that I was going to ask is, do you go to church around here, or do you have connections
I
to
did
church
while I
here?
was still able to.
Uh-huh.
That little church right on 42nd and Florist is where
Okay.
I went.
Uh-huh.
I can't think of the name of it right now. Right across the street is that little vegetable garden for the neighborhood.
Right. The community garden there.
Yeah, and I never did feel comfortable about that church anyway, because I'm Lutheran. I'm also Wells, Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran.
Oh, Wisconsin, is that Wisconsin Synod, or it's different than Wisconsin Synod, right?
It's a little more strict. There's
Than
several,
Wisconsin Synod.
Yeah, there's several Wisconsin Synod units, and this would be about the most strict of all.
Okay.
And that's the way I grew up, and that's what I'd look for. But there isn't any in the neighborhood. I'd have to go all the way up to Mequon. Or all the way down as far as Sherman Park area. And that's way too far for my wheelchair to go. The batteries wouldn't make it there and back.
Is that primarily how you get around, is in a wheelchair, or do you
No,
walk
that's
too?
I take that with me if I have a big. My neighbors will take me along when they go to the train show in November, or when they go to a sports show in spring.
Mm-hmm.
We fold up my power wheelchair and put it in the back of their Mountaineer, and they take me along. I got a powered wheelchair, so it takes a little bit to fold it up and put it back together when we get there. But it's worth it because I can zip around the show and have a good time. And so I don't get out as much as I'd like to. Basically, what I get out for is doctor appointments and going to the grocery store. I can walk from here to the garage without too much trouble.
Oh, good. Mm-hmm.
And on a day like today, I probably wouldn't even make it to the garage because of my asthma. But my knees will let me walk that far.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not such a nice day to be out anyway. It's, but
I never did do well with heat anyway. I never seemed to mind the cold. It must be my Norwegian blood.
I was going to say, I saw the Norwegian flag on the front door.
One side is my dad and the other side is my
So
mother.
German?
Jew.
Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff going on inside of me.
I was going to say, you've got some history, huh? And I'm assuming the Norwegian side then is the Lutheran side. Or
Actually not.
really? Okay. Tell me a little bit about the German Jew and the Lutheran.
Well, I've been
Milwaukee.
doing a family chart, and it's just kind of fortuitous that you asked that, because it was just a couple of weeks ago that I finally went on Ancestry.com and learned so much about my family. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, died when I was 4.5 or 5 years old, something like that. So I don't really remember him. I've seen pictures of him and it doesn't ring a bell. So he owned a butcher shop on 7th and Concordia, right in the middle of the southbound lanes of I-43.
Now.
And we're talking in the early 50s. Well, he had the butcher shop from the 20s up through the Depression and into the early 50s, actually 51 when he died. But I can remember going there with my mother. I must have been 3 or 4 years old. And back in those days, they could still kill on premises. So he didn't buy from any of the slaughterhouses.
He slaughtered on the premises.
He'd get a farmer to bring in a pig or a cow or whatever he needed. And I remember that cow hanging from the gambles, from the ceiling, over a sewer grate, because you could still let that go in the sewer. I mean, it was a lot different than it is now. And it must have been a little traumatic for me, because I remember it so clearly. And I can't remember anything else back from then. He walked over to that cow, or steer, whatever it was, with a wooden handle and a great big metal spike on the end of it, and just punctured the jugular veins and let it bleed out. Now, it's still alive. He didn't stun it like they have to now. And I remember that because that was something that I've never seen before or since. And I guess it was... But the only other thing I remember from those days was when I plugged a vacuum cleaner cord into the wall with a bottle cap opener hanging over the prongs. And that bright flash, and that solid bzzzt before the fuse blew. My dad was not happy with me at all.
No.
There was a plume on the wall, I can remember, for months before they repainted, because they couldn't wash it off. The electric arc had actually...
I was going to say, that was pretty
embedded into the-
impressive.
Well, it was all oil paint back then, so maybe it actually...
Oh, yeah,
the
kind of
smoke
fried
went
it.
into the...
Mhm.
fried right into the oil.
So were your parents both from Milwaukee, or were they...
Actually, no. My mother was born and raised here. She went to Girls Tech.
Mm-hmm.
There was a Girls Tech here. And if you go downtown across from Marquette and you see the big rescue mission down there, that used to be Girls Tech.
Okay.
So and she graduated from the housewifery course.
In when about? What year do you think?
Late 20s, early 30s, probably right there in the middle of the Depression.
Okay.
I remember they lived on 7th and Concordia, and that was a big Jewish community there at that time. And I remember her saying that to be able to make ends meet, everybody in the family went out and worked. So as a teenager after school, she'd go in some of these Jewish homes and starch their bed sheets and iron them and stuff like that for them, because they were real particular about things. And that gave her a little extra money, you know, to chip into the household. And my grandfather, because he was a butcher and because he was a nice guy, he left a lot of people kids things on the cuff so they could feed their family.
During the Depression?
And my parents came up both through the Depression, so I have that Depression mentality ingrained in me.
Tell me what you think the Depression mentality is.
I don't throw things away. This has become a disposable society. But in the Depression, you didn't go out and get a new toaster if it was bad. You took it to the corner electric shop, and they fixed it for you. There are all kinds of stores like that. First job I ever got was working for a local TV store. Local TV store? There ain't no such thing anymore. No, when I mention local TV stores, half the people I mention it to don't even know what I'm talking about. I graduated from Boys Tech and specialized in the chemistry course, except that by the time I got out, I hated chemistry. So, I don't know, I rambled around for that summer, and then I think my parents actually saw an advertisement for one of those schools that see advertising all the time. This one was downtown, called the United School of Electronic Trades. It ain't there no more. I tried to find it online to
Sorry.
see if when it went out of business or anything, but I can't find any trace of it anymore. Anyway, I graduated from the TV course. They had a TV repair course there. They had a longer, full electronics course that you could learn everything about electronics. But I didn't want to go to school that long. I had already gone to high school and I was out and I didn't want to deal with that. So this was like a 8-month evenings and Saturday mornings type of thing. And I got to be pretty damn good at it. The local TV shop hired me. I was running service calls.
Okay.
I could walk into a house, turn the television set on, and tell you within 30 seconds what was wrong with it, where the problem was. And so I'd take the back off the TV set. I'd go to that particular tube. What's a tube? Vacuum tube.
I know what it is.
Okay. You don't look old enough to know what it is, though.
I was born in '79.
They were gone by then.
Really? Because
Yeah.
It was solid state TVs by then, right?
As a matter of fact, they were gone.
Zenith.
we had old TVs though.
Oh, you did?
so
Okay.
We weren't the richest family.
They were actually gone by about end of the 60s, early 70s, maybe
Okay.
71 or so.
Okay.
Integrated circuits took over. They still had TVs with the picture tube in them. They weren't
Mhm.
flat screen
Right.
like that.
But they didn't have the
And in
tubes.
fact, I was just using one up until a couple of weeks ago
Yeah.
when my ex-landlord, the guy that kicked me out, gave me that.
Oh,
Because he's
well-
always felt bad that he had to kick me out.
well,
That was his wife's idea. We were childhood friends, and it didn't set well with him that his wife didn't like me. And he was kind of caught in the middle, so I got trounced. And that's why he got me that, because he felt guilty. All
Oh,
these years
well.
he's felt guilty.
well, it's nice to, I mean, at least you have a
They're
friend
not
there.
together anymore.
Yeah.
She's out in South Dakota someplace. He's up in Wausau on a farm with some lady up there. And he's just enjoying the heck out of himself. So more power to him.
Yeah. Well, what I'll say is we need to take care of our technology, and we'll leave you to get back to your television, which is actually, looking at it, it's lovely. It's a good setup with that you've got.
We didn't talk about some of the other stuff that they were asking me about, though.
What things do you think we missed?
Havenswood.
So tell me about that. And I'm going
That's
to apologize because I didn't leave
recent.
enough time. Yeah.
That's recent.
When you say recent,
10 years, maybe.
okay.
State took it over for Havenswood is actually a state park.
Right.
But when this was all built, that was a federal prison, military prison. The Army base right over here, you know where that is. On the west end of it, where that guy has got that urban farm, right inside the fence, that's the Army Corps of Engineers. Right where that Army Corps of Engineer building sits is where the old Nike site was. If you ever heard of the Nikes, they were supposed to be the first line of defense. They would shoot down incoming ICBMs. Except they didn't work. That's why you took them out. But anyway, there were in the city of Milwaukee, Milwaukee area, there was two of them. Right there, and the other one was in Cudahy on the lakefront. Right down on the bluff above the lake. And you could see them Nikes sitting up there like, I don't think they were much taller than maybe 10 or 15 feet. So they weren't big. They weren't like the ICBMs. They were just small things that were meant to shoot down the big things. except that they couldn't hit a broadside of a barn from the inside. So they got rid of them. Anyway, after that was a military prison when military downside. That's why all this stuff is here. These were all built in a place in Indiana. I want to say Jasper. I looked everywhere for the plaque that I found on the wall in the utility room. I put it away for safekeeping, and I can't find it. And I wanted to show it to you, because that would tell you more about this than anything else.
You know, we can look up some
Every-
of that too.
Every house in the neighborhood that's small like this is the exact same thing. On this side of the street, they all got just forced air. On that side of the street, those people also has a fireplace.
Oh, okay.
So these were probably for the non-coms, and those were probably for the officers. This was all military housing.
Okay.
The federal government put this together. Stuff like this would never pass, wouldn't have even passed code back in those days.
Mhm.
This is a 2x4 wall.
Mhm.
That's a load-bearing wall, so that's 2x4s too. That wall is 2x2s,
Really.
really. And if you could look underneath, the slab is poured. They come in and they put the outside walls up and get them all tacked into place. Then before they put the roof on, they lower these other walls in place. And there's a metal channel that's impact into the floor. They use one of those 22 caliber.
Like a cartridge gun.
Yeah. And I think at those days, though, they didn't have the gun. They just had the thing that you hit on the back with a hammer. Anyway, there's a metal clip there, and one on that end. And that's all that holds them together. And then they set, well, this wall would have probably been set first because this is the load bearing. All of the ceiling joists bear on that. And if you look up above, that's where the ridge pole is going down the length of the house. So that's all in line. And now some of these houses, like the guy across the street and that one over there, they actually lengthened their, by the way, those all have attached garages on that side. We all have divorce
Detached.
garages.
Ah, okay. Another reason to think it's commissioned versus non-commissioned
Yeah.
officers. Okay. Commissioned officers versus non-com. Interesting.
Unfortunately, none of those are accessible from inside the garage.
Okay.
You either come out through the overhead door and go in the front door, or you go out a service door on the back side of the garage and go in the back door of the house. It was a way of getting away without having a fire right to place. And otherwise, they'd had to cordon everything off. The garage would have been all sealed so that exhaust didn't get into the house or whatever. So it was a cheap way of doing it. And if you look on 38th Street, 38th Street is the same thing. All the houses like this are on this side of the street, just the opposite. And all the houses like that are on that side of
Well,
the street.
that's something interesting because next week actually we're going to delve into all these records. So maybe that's something that we can look at more closely. And
If I can find that plaque, I'll give you a holler.
Do.
I don't know how to get a hold of you.
I can leave you my number.
I'm thinking I've got it in my file cabinet, but
Okay.
I've got to go through. If I can find it, it's something that you'd want to see, I'm sure.
Sure, that would be great.
Because it tells what the name of the factory was in Indiana.
Can I pull
when
a
it was
sheet of
built.
paper here and
Sure.
leave it here? Okay,
As a matter of fact, don't pull it off. Just,
just write on it.
just take the top one and fold it back and write on the next one.
Okay.
That's my growing list for
Your
store.
to-dos.
no, things to pick up from the store.
Got it. All right. Well, we will get. Do call me if there's something. This is a Chicago number, but I'll give you Megan's number too, if you don't mind, Megan,
No, I don't mind.
because she's local.
Well, I don't have long distance service on my phone,
Okay.
but this is a SafeLink cell phone.
Okay.
One of those free jobbies,
Yeah.
and I can call anywhere in the world with that thing.
262.
Hold on. Let me. 41426. Oops. Sorry. You're Walworth County. 262
492
492
5597.
5597.
With that exchange, where in Walworth are you? I thought Walworth was 363.
I live close to Burlington in Lyons.
Oh, okay, so you're farther that way. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I love.
I've
living
got
in
friends that
Walworth
lived
County.
in between East Troy and McGonigal,
Okay,
and their exchanges are all 363.
really?
So anyway,
Well, here are a couple things that I need to do to close this up, and I'm sorry I have to be so brief about it, but as I mentioned, we
I'm
managed
sorry
to
we-
double book something. So
I'm sorry that we got off on a tangent and didn't get all the
you know what?
neighborhood information.
But if you're okay with it, there may be times. Can I give you a call to ask you questions
Sure.
as well? Super. So there are a couple things of housekeeping too that I need to do, because part of this is that we need to, because we're working with the university, have all the legal sign-offs from you for permission to do two things. First is that you know that you've talked to us and that we'd like to use your information, your recorded information.
Boy, that's almost as bad as that HEPA stuff with the
With the privacy policy?
with the medicals.
Yeah, it's a lot like that.
I
And-
thought Ronald Reagan wanted to get rid of so much
Well,
paperwork.
it's all come back.
That
It's all-
didn't happen, huh?
No, people got worried about people's privacy. But one of the things I do need to tell you, and make sure it's okay with you, is that we'd like to take this recording and use it and make it accessible to as many people as possible.
Have at it.
Okay, so we can use it on the web, in the library, and for research
You
and things
got
like
it.
that.
And I'll tell you, I was telling you, I researched my family too.
Yeah.
And half the information I got about my family, I mean, I can go back 7 generations now.
Yeah,
But I got that from other people that had researched earlier. And so I wouldn't even be half of where I am if it hadn't been for being able to use somebody else's information. So
okay. So
I'm
will,
all for that.
Good. Well, I will fill this out, and while I do this, is there anything, Megan, that you think that I've missed? Because
I don't think you've missed anything. I think you've covered everything. But I have
What
a
do you
couple of
wanna ask?
questions that don't really have to do with this research project. Just curiousness. What is Mark Newman running for? Is he running for Senate?
No, he's running for.
Because I know Tommy
Is it
Thompson.
Senate?
Tommy Thompson and Hovde.
He's running for the same thing that Thompson and
okay.
Hovde is.
They're running for Cole's open seat.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
And Tommy Thompson, I don't like because when he was governor,
uh-huh.
he never met a tax he didn't like. It won't come out anywhere because nobody but Tammy Baldwin would want to trash him. But I think he's going to win because he's got
the name recognition.
He's got the name recommend. Yeah, what you said, and he's probably the most popular of all of them. This Eric Hovde, I like a lot of what he says,
Mhm.
but I don't know him from Adam. He
Right.
just dropped in there all of a sudden. Where did he come from? And Fitzgerald, I've seen some of his record from other places. He was further up north for a while as assembly or something like
Mhm.
that. And he isn't the best guy in the world. I'm an ultra conservative, and maybe that's not the best thing to be and to tell people. But That's the most conservative candidate on the, that's why I'm backing him. You could see that I took it down.
Got the Walker stuff too.
Can I give you this to get your signature on? Sorry, it's the paperwork. You know how it goes. I need your signature there. Is that stable enough? Okay, good. You're an Owen Olson then.
Yes.
That's the Olson of my people. And if you can sign there,
Are you
I'm a
Norwegian?
Swede.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm a Norwegian,
Yeah.
and I don't know how that happened.
I don't know either.
My dad always said if it's spelled Owen, it's Swede. I mean, it's Norwegian, and if it's spelled En, it's Swede.
I learned the opposite way.
What are?
I'm a Swede. I'm an Anderson. Owen
Anderson.
Anderson. And if you can sign just right there, and I'll fill in the rest of it with your name, printed name, and things like that. And this is so that we can use the sound recording.
You can put your date on too.
I will. And
I'm lazy.
just in case we
Yeah.
came back for a house diagram or anything like that, I'll get you to sign this. I don't think we will, but it's better to have than not have.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Well, it was good for me too because I like talking,
Well, and
and
that's
I got
good.
very few people to talk to these
Well,
days.
I'm glad that we. Can
I've
come in.
tried to teach him to talk back, but
My dog doesn't talk to me either. It's really
he
aggravating.
just looks at me and turns his head back and
That's
forth like that.
right.
You wonder sometimes if I could tighten up that neck a little bit, if that would stop.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate it again. Thank you so much. And if we can give you a call, you have our numbers. If you think of anything else, and if I can give you a call if we have more questions, that'd be great.
Oh, you guys got good firm handshakes.
Yeah, thanks.
It's
like
the
that.
Scandinavian in me, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Scandinavian, I like that.
That's our people.